Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another live stream of Shadowverse. Today is Pi Day, which is March the 13th, Saturday. Um, what has happened is ever since Thursday, there has just been no internet at my house at all. I'm almost 100% sure that is my internet service provider's fault, but I did try multiple things to try and bypass my internet service provider being at fault, messing up the internet. So I did specifically make an effort there to not have any to what was I trying to say there? Sorry, I got distracted. Yeah, I'm probably going to be fairly distracted today. Whenever the internet is down, it is a nightmare. Like, every hour, I was just rebooting the router. I did take out some time to read comic books. The last two comic book series that I won't probably ever will read in my life. Although I could see myself maybe eventually 3 or 4 years down the line grabbing a couple more series. But I am certainly going for more of a mature route on that. I'm reading Y the Last Man and Deus Ex Machina, not any comic book like Marvel or DC for kids. So I got a little bit of that done. At a certain point, I got past my frustration with the internet being down, and I finished Danganronpa. Not anything super surprising at the end. I did manage to unlock the one cheesecake scene in which the main male character peeks in on the female characters in a public bathhouse, but they're all covered in towels, so you see the outline of a butt and the back of a couple of characters, and that's it. Maybe a small fraction of side boob. So Danganronpa, fairly censored, but in the middle of the game does have just a weird kind of adult section that feels like it could easily have not been censored. And there's also a lot of sections in Danganronpa where the dialogue just gets horny, for lack of a better term, for no good reason. And it kind of breaks the narrative. It really, really breaks the narrative when you realize who the mastermind is, and once you've played the main story, and then you really have to question what is the nature of the mastermind's interest in making lewd comments, as they often do. Regardless, Danganronpa went way too long, and I once again need to stay very, very far away from any visual novels for at least a year. Because the internet was down, I did not log into all of these rewards, so I don't think that's going to be a big problem, but it kind of sucks. And certainly I didn't get any of the daily rewards done. And that sucks more for the cell phone game Destiny Child that I play more than it sucks for Shadowverse, because I really don't care enough about playing every single day and getting daily quests done on Shadowverse. I do care about that on Destiny Child. At some point before all of that, I did get some stuff done off screen, you can see. Today is basically just going to be a catch-up stream. We may do very little focus or around Shadowverse. We may also find that the internet has trouble anyways, so we may have to do that. I would also say that the internet at the moment is not in the best position. There are some sites that still don't seem to be loading up. This could be because the internet in itself is just having massive problems all over the place, and it's not just a localized issue. But yeah, it's been a mess. So outside of that, I was going to plan on doing a Lego set, and I probably will do some more of that today. But just as a normal break. But overall, I didn't get to that. I did start playing the very, very old, like nearly 3 years ago, I purchased almost all the tables that were leaving Pinball Arcade. And so now I'm just going through them and doing like a 30-minute episode of playing them. I've already committed and started to that, so I might as well just make a full series out of it and play every table. And I should have done that a long time ago, and I just got myself far too distracted with other things. Forestcraft, and let's go with Forestcraft and Bloodcraft first, and we'll just come back later after that point. Forestcraft and Bloodcraft. We'll start with Bloodcraft. But yeah, since we have basically all the video game news between Thursday and today, there's a lot of catch up to happen. There's not a lot of news in general, but there is certainly issues. So yeah. What really drove me crazy about the internet being out is that I knew pretty much with almost 100% certainty I hadn't changed anything on the router. I was in a burn-in phase just to make sure everything worked. I hadn't really made any real tweaks. I have since made some tweaks and perhaps improved the signal strength on my 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi a little bit, although it's still just very much pushing the edge of how far it can reach. And I adjusted the quality of service. Turns out the quality of service was set up to only offer like 100 megabytes, and I really have 200 megabytes of data. Of course, we're getting a very consistent issue here with matchmaking where we're having to retry. It's trying, but there's something clearly with the quality of service that it's not succeeding with. That could be too much upload or too much download or just missed priorities. The network data in particular that happens with Shadowverse and games like this are not so much just your standard HTTP web page port usage, so it's kind of harder to identify those and figure out if that's going to work. So I may have to risk something here and try and change the quality of service on the fly. What did I possibly change? Or it could just be it's not going to work. Let's see if we can change this on the fly. What did we possibly maximize something too high? Well, let's try that. See if that works. Yeah. The quality of service has two categories, one called unset and one called unknown, that you kind of, for games, need to have at a fairly high level. But it might also just be a case in this instance of the network itself having problems, or it could be a case of the Shadowverse servers having problems. It does seem like a couple of websites that end .tv are not loading up at the moment on my network. Alright, so let's overall, I guess, just start covering the video game news, because yeah, we may be stuck here for a while just trying. There may literally not be anything that I can do to fix this. This may literally have nothing to do with what I'm doing or trying. This part loads kind of fine. But so we kind of know some of that is not an issue. Alright, well. We'll try and see, there's a category called maximum, and I have to wonder if maximum it's supposed to be like don't even slow it down, send it as fast as possible. And it goes maximum, premium, express, and then standard, and then bulk. And so I kind of wonder if maybe it's the maximum that is the issue. So we'll try some different settings. Unfortunately, it really is a game of just shuffling settings around, though. You just kind of don't know. The fact that it's popping up now loading, then disappearing now loading, does seem to imply that there is a chance that gave it a better chance. But it is still trying very hard to load. And at a certain point, I kind of think I might just need to find a backup game that would go into an attract mode and play itself instead. Something that could just be something I could jump down to, and in case there's something I don't want to show on the second monitor. Which, yeah. I watched one of the YouTube videos on self-certification. If I'm ever back into the YouTube partner program and can have ads and all, self-certification, particularly on adult content, and the instructions made mostly sense that you would have a focus there, but to not go in and show too much and expect ads to show up if you do show too much. But there is a certain level there where at the very end, and I think this is probably the way almost all the instructions that YouTube would ever give anybody is that they're going to leave it vague enough where they could catch 22 you easily. And in that case, it was, if you focus on fetishes, basically just any fetish, then it's no go at that point, which there's a problem in that, because you could pretty much call anything a fetish and be accurate. There's no big surprise there. So I don't know how you potentially would be certain which fetishes you're talking about or not, because I think people, like with a foot fetish for instance, probably considerably less objectionable to talk about a foot fetish than, say, a hardcore like bondage piercing fetish or something like that. You could easily go in many different directions around that, and it definitely, for somebody who plays video games, opens up the problem of, well, are you going to consider anything that is in the anime style a fetish? Because there's plenty of people, I think, that would make that argument that that is the case. So if I was to try and, say, play Honey Pop and it was censored to a certain level, do I still get demonetized completely because Honey Pop is animated? And I guess almost every character in Honey Pop is also representing some kind of fetish, which that also becomes an issue. Let's see. I'm trying to look here and see if maybe I just have too many ports open. No, I don't think that's the problem. This could just be anything at all. Alright, return the decks. Select the deck. Click OK. Let's just retry. Retry. Knew I shouldn't have tweaked things before starting streaming today, and I knew I shouldn't have potentially done any adjustment to the network as soon as the network started working, because there was just this chance that this was going to happen. In a lot of ways, it may be just for the better. We may just not play any Shadowverse today. I also have to just desperately try and catch up with Destiny Child, so Destiny Child could be sucking all the data down too. Or any number of other computers could be sucking data down also, as they're trying to catch up with Windows updates and things like that. I have a Windows update in particular that needs to be installed on the computer and reboot, and the computer needs to reboot. Alright, I'm gonna give it one more look and see if there's possibly something we can do here. And I'll just set that back to that, and I'll deal with that later. And then maximize that one. Maximize that one. Maximize that one. YouTube upload should probably be premium. More. Is there anything else? Alright, I'll give that one more try. And then at that point, I just have no idea. If I can't get a single game to load. This could easily be the server's problem. Okay. So either a setting I set was wrong, or I was just having it suck down too much bandwidth, which that is probably the problem. Okay, well, we can start playing, we can start going through the video game news, and hopefully no more tinkering on the network for a while. Gamatsu has an article. A PlayStation 1 style horror game called Chasing Static launches Q3 of 2021 for the PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. I did hear that the Xbox Series S apparently is a very good emulation station if you happen to get a cheap one and put RetroArch on it, that it will play GameCube games at like full frame rate, which GameCube is certainly a step above what a Raspberry Pi can do, where Raspberry Pis can not even really do all Nintendo 64 games, although I still wouldn't be surprised if the Xbox Series S was not perfect at emulating Nintendo 64 games. That game Chasing Static looked interesting enough. I don't think I'm gonna make a lot of comments and at these on every bit of news, because we've just got a ton of games to talk about. I imagine though, if you do hack a Xbox Series to be an emulation station, at that point you probably lose a lot of the playability to legitimately play Xbox One games or Xbox One S games or things like that. It would be ideal to do it on an Xbox One S that has a broken DVD drive, and you're repurposing it at that point. That would make, I think, the most sense. Or one that has some other flaw that makes it less useful as its original intended product. The forward and backward compatibility of Xbox One games and Xbox 360 games and Xbox Series games really has treated the customer a lot better than previous generations of consoles have, Nintendo consoles in particular.
I'll open the way. You follow behind.
So, yeah, I still have a huge pile of Xbox 360 games that I think a vast majority of them would easily be forward compatible to the Xbox Series, all the way to Xbox Series S. So
This whip is an extension of my
they
soul.
still have some value. Although, in all fairness, there is extra value in moving the PC and using Steam and just not having a bunch of DVD cases with video games on them, taking up your space in your house. Although, when the internet's down, that certainly was a factor that I considered. Is that there was just not a major let's see, like there's not a lot of games that I could have played knowing that knowing that the internet was down. You can't go to Steam and install new games, for instance. So I would have been stuck to everything that was installed, which pretty much was only the pinball games and a few other things. I could have played the Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. That was my other thought. But I need to desperately schedule videos and also uninstall a lot of games that I've already played and potentially replace a lot of what I've installed with other things that I haven't played. Alright. Moving on, we have a Komatsu article, the Signifier Director's Cut reveal trailer. It's an extended version of the Signifier. Unfortunately, I don't recall a game called the Signifier. It's tagged with sexual content. That stuck out my eye. Is this a VR game only? It kind of does seem like it's a VR game where you're going through like your own memories or investigating a murder or something. When did this game originally come out? The updated version will be free update to the PC version and its first release on consoles. The Signifier first launched via Steam on October 2020. Interesting. And it's basically just another game I think I missed. Okay. Is there any way we can kill this and save ourselves? No, we can evolve this so that we have drain. And then we have to hit that. And then we can hit that. And then we pretty much lose. Yeah, here's the Signifier. It is on my falling list, and I guess I guess I just have not done a falling list since October 15th, 2020. Which I feel like I had, but maybe I did a wishlist cleanup instead. Well, I suppose this meets the requirements, and there really is no reason to not get this game, because even if I get it now, I'm gonna get a free update. The only mistake I suppose would be to get the signifier and play it before the director's cut comes out. Oddly, not a VR game, although it does look like it. This publisher, Raw Fury. What else have they published? Kathy Rain. I've heard that game. Kingdom Two Crowns. This is the game that looked like it was stealing art from Bloodstained Ritual of a Night. I guess they never got in trouble for that. I never got sued. Kingdom New Lands. Kingdom Classic. So I guess I was going to check out Kingdom at some point since I own that. And then Sable. I recall this. Yeah, this game is not out yet. So it's kind of funny that they're announcing a director's cut of a game that's already out when they should be probably focusing a little bit more on the release of Sable when it comes out. But I guess maybe they had some extra time. I imagine a lot of things are delayed. Next, we have a detective adventure game called Murder Mystery Machine coming to the PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC in 2021. These are definitely announcements for things. Never heard of a company called Blazing Griffin. This looks like it might be an interesting idea, and it's 100% just going to boil down to the way it actually plays or not, because we're seeing laser light shows here pointing and making connecting lines, and this is really just a teaser trailer. How it actually plays will be the real question. Let's see. Plot written by masters, engaging deductive mechanics, detailed varied environments, modern noir art style. It might very well just be an adventure game. Kind of like a point and click adventure. Which, yeah. It kind of has to be, because otherwise you're going to have almost procedurally generated murders, and then the game probably wouldn't feel storyline wise unique enough. If anything, I would kind of argue that there is not as many point and click adventures around murder mysteries as there should be. We're waiting for the opponent to select, or at least we think we are. Anyways, we have a game on Steam here called Explorer of Yggdrasil. Yggdrasil? Yeah. Or Yggdrasil. It's probably more closely pronounced Yggdrasil. This is another one of these RPG Maker games that's been censored. More than likely. $17.99 Japanese. Full audio. Not seeing anything here. Her eyes are incredibly poorly animated. Just focus on those eyes. Like, take your face away from the cleavage for a second and look at those cross-eyed animations for every single character pose. That is just terrible. Even if that was supposed to be a character trait, it's just a weird character trait. Like, it would be like giving somebody giving a character a limp in an action game. Nobody wants a limp. It's not attractive to any significant number of people. There I imagine are some people out there that have fetishes for people who limp, but like, it's not cutesy. It's not like a beauty mark by most people's standards. It just looks like bad animation. Next, we have a game on Steam here called Hollow Ghost, which just seems like you're just kind of jumping around. They've got some different characters here, but a pretty basic life bar and mana bar. $3.74, English only. Yeah, this is more of a student project or the beginning of an experiment or a vertical slice than an actual finished product by my standards. Yeah, I'm still having to go through like 5 different Twitter pages. It may very well be that that is just the way things are going to go going forward, and that will create a situation where I'll have more things to talk about and we'll miss less things. But it also creates a situation where I'm potentially spending 4 times as much time before streaming, just preparing for streams. Here we have a game called Frick Frack, which looks to me like it's an oil digging game with some dig dug elements. It's free and it's English only, so I can't complain about it too much. This guy's just not playing. Either that or network issues. It literally could be network issues all over the place. My chat could easily be messed up here, and there could be network issues around that. There's all kinds of stuff. I literally was like five minutes away from streaming on Thursday when the internet went out, and there was a brief moment for about an hour where the internet came back on I believe Friday or Saturday, and it just went out again. And yeah, it certainly was a nightmare as far as checking websites to see if other people are having their internet out, and sometimes the website would say yes, sometimes the website would say no. I think some of the websites in particular are just not trustworthy at all, and potentially owned by internet service providers in general. So they always say no. Going directly to the source and talking to my internet service provider proved to be fairly useless because they just want you to reset the cable modem over and over and over again. And I reset the cable modem probably 24 times, and they kind of want you to wait 10 minutes after you reset the cable modem anyway, so it's like, yeah, this equipment kind of sucks, and they're really just trying to stop you from actually having to talk to a real person, which I guess eventually they can just fix it and stop you from talking to a real person. Of course, there's no real credits unless you complain quite loudly, and even at that you'll get the minimalist of credits, not anything really deserving, unless of course you pay through the nose for guaranteed service, and then you can actually be credited some amount for the ridiculous amount you overpay by having guaranteed service business lines. Moving on, we have a game on Steam here called Beneficium, I suppose. Generally, I would kind of call this a dark screenshot horror game, but there is something in this trailer that makes it look slightly interesting, but it is this cutscene part. So it looks like you're chasing after witches that turn into monsters, but then the actual game is you're just kind of wandering around a horror forest. Survivor horror stealth game. Again, free, so you can't complain too much. There's no in-app purchases. It's English with full audio, but it is once again not a product that is polished enough to really deserve my attention. I may also have, in changing some settings on my Chrome browser, I may have actually caused my anti-duplicate tab plugin to accidentally close a bunch of tabs. So if that's the case, and we are potentially an hour and a half into the stream and I'm out of tabs, then I know I've done messed up quite a bit. Here we've got a game called Bunny Band, which is just another block puzzle pushing game. It's inconsistent in the visuals since you have these cave sections and then you have these like ocean sections. It's early access for 69 cents, English only. Just not really sure if I would ever want to play a block pushing game. Here we have a game called Dangerous Lands, which looks like a 90s first-person shooter, which you pretty much don't want to make a 90s looking first-person shooter, because that would be the era in which 3D graphics were at their youngest and least polished. This is $1.19, English, allegedly full audio. Metro 2033 is also free this weekend if you want to get that. It does not include Metro 23 Redux, however, so you're basically getting a free game that you would prefer not to play in favor of playing the remaster. Alright. So we'll just do this. And do this. Hit that. And guess we might as well evolve. See, next we have a game called Dungeon of Aiden, EYDN, which looks like a cell phone top-down hack and slash game. Is it multiplayer? $5.94, single player, split screen, co-op, English and German. I just don't think the graphics are polished enough here for this to be something of interest. I am fairly picky, but by the time I get around to doing another wish list, follow list cleanup, you'll probably see that I have probably 1,000. Well, I hope it's not 1,000. I hope it's closer to 500 games. Maybe, hopefully, even less than that on the follow list. I definitely need to think about doing that next month. Here we have a game called Destroy the Demon Army on Steam, which this seems like one of those strategy games where it's just all text. 99 cents, English, Chinese, Japanese, and traditional Chinese. Yeah, and I was gonna say this looks like a Chinese game, but I was trying to be kind of kinder there. But I guess it doesn't matter. I mean, there's still a decent chance it was an English game or a Japanese game. Next we have a game on Steam here called Size Matters, which this, I feel like, looks very similar to another game that has already come out. And this might be the sequel to it from the same developer. Let's see. I guess the question would be, let's see. You have a game called One Shift that's mostly positive, and a game called ATMA Sphere, Atomosphere. So those are very simplistic games. And Size Matters looks like it is much more ambitious. It's rated very positively in the last 30 days and positive overall. Not a lot of ratings though. And I'm fairly certain I have seen YouTubers play a game like this where you're just constantly shrinking and you have to rush to solve find the antidote, or you're going to shrink down and fail. But I guess I'll be generous and put that on the follow list. Here we have a game called Cyberpunk Madness, which looks like a Wolfenstein 3D clone of no interest for 59 cents. I could have curated probably a lot of these games, but I chose not to. Alright, well, we got a victory because the other person wasn't playing, which I'll take that victory any day of the week. Here we have a game called Evo/Wave, which looks like it's just some weird graphics and some Unity assets being flipped. Some kind of platformer. Collectathon is what it's being tagged as. It's free English.
Time for me to prove myself.
Yeah, okay. Once again, I'm not gonna complain about things that are free, although I might complain about a game like this, Pirate Craft, where clearly this is just a Minecraft clone where you can play as pirates or in a more pirate environment, which doesn't change much. 59 cents, English only. Yeah, that's unimpressive in its originality, to say the least. Here we have a game called Assimilation X, which again looks just like buildings with no characters, so that makes it feel like it is just kind of a asset flip. It's tagged as a platformer. I almost feel like it's a walking simulator. I guess not. That they're having you jump around. This game in particular seems like it has some pretty bad ways in which it's depicting the loading in and out of the graphics and doing kind of a fisheye zoom. So I feel like you'd get very motion sick playing this game. $2.99 English, allegedly full audio. I would say you would want to be very careful before playing Assimilation X, but in all fairness, I don't think anybody's gonna ever play it. Here we have a game called X Thrust, which I feel like I need to zoom everything out a little bit. There. See, X Thrust looks to me like you're building little rockets, and that's it. An experimental flight game with player versus player for $12.74. Yeah. Unimpressive.
Check out my fancy footwork. Get ready to fly. No way.
Next, we have a game on Steam called Depth 6, which looks like it's an adventure horror game. Looks like there's just a lot of dark screenshots here. Going through a cave. $4.99. I don't think things should be tagged as dark because most of the game is dark. English full audio, they're comparing it to Danganronpa, which honestly, almost any game besides Danganronpa 2 or 3 or the spin-off game Ultra Despair Girls, any other game compared to Danganronpa is inaccurate. Like, you might have a visual novel out there that is somewhat like Danganronpa, but I think the vast majority of instances you would not be accurate in that case. Alright. Let's see. This.
Kind's tenacity will exterminate you, vermin.
And then this. And then this.
Allow me to bestow a crimson kiss.
Get ready to fly. Ow!
Then hit that. So yeah, Depth 6 not making it to the fall list. Here we have a game called Lazy Chess, which just looks like a chess game. Let's see. New non-profit chess game that narrows your choices down to 2 possible moves per turn. Interesting idea. But then it's $2.99. So they are clearly accumulating some revenue for some reason. Yeah, and I think like anything that says the phrase non-profit should be investigated by Steam very carefully. Yeah, they're claiming to be a 501c3 nonprofit organization, which doesn't mean they can't pay their employees or anything like that. It just means that they can, that their stated goal is that it's not for profit. But here you have a low effort game called Copy Editor. Here you have something called the Devil's Calculator. And here you have Chamelon instead of Coco Melon video player. Clearly this is a scammer, and this is not to be believed. So, can you even flag games for scams? Like fraud. Let's see. It says under fraud, the software fraudulently attempts to gain sensitive information such as your Steam credentials or financial data. So they don't even want you to flag something if it is obviously a fraudster that is claiming to be a non-profit, when almost certainly they don't have they probably don't have that status. And of course, if I really cared, I could do the research. I could look up this company, Google them, see if they have a business listing, see where they're headquartered out of, and see if they have the proper forms and files to do that. I wouldn't actually know how to do that, but it definitely could happen. Next, we have a game on Steam called Bloodroots. This looks like it's a top-down, well, they're calling it a top-down shooter, but it seems like it moves fairly fast, and it looks like it actually is visually polished a lot more than most top-down twin-stick shooters. There may not be much of an experience here. You may get into a level and just have a certain amount of time to get to the end or defeat all the enemies. Let's see, it's $15.99, bunch of languages. I'm going to put this on the following list, but that price tag does seem a little high. Although, in all fairness, I am not at full mental capacity as far as what a game like Bloodroots should be worth, because it kind of looks unique enough that I can't compare it to a lot of other things. Get that, and that. Here we have a game called LSS2, which is tagged as a survival horror. It's obviously a low effort asset flip first person shooter survival horror game for $2.69. I really need to just start calling games garbage instead of using more detailed descriptive words. If I was writing an article, detailed descriptive words makes sense, but if I'm saying the same thing over and over again, sadly there is no phrase for video games like that is shorter. I could call them fake games, a la fake news phrase, but I don't know if that really conveys it right, and I don't know if I really want to use that phrase in particular because it's become such a loaded phrase. Here we have a game called Mask Up, where apparently you're this like character that can wear different masks, and then that makes you take different shapes. And then it does look like it's just hand-drawn, the MS Paint level graphics. But I have to applaud, when I actually watch the trailer here and watch them play, it feels like somebody very silly or possibly crazy made a game here, but they really did seem like they're trying to make a game. There's a whole mechanic in which parts of your body get absorbed and you gain level ups to change your body. So it's not the mask, it's the goo, as it were, that you collect. $4.99 English, French, and Turkish. I don't want to put this on the fall list because this may just be a weird French or Turkish animation style. I mean, I could see this being a French animator and that they're just trying to do something different. At the end of the day, I think there's a decent chance you still would not really want to play a game like that.
Check this out. Oh, come on.
There we go. So yeah, I'm gonna be generous. Next we have a game on Steam called Altered, which looks like it is a box pushing Sokoban style game. It is $10.79 English, allegedly full audio. I don't see anything here that interesting. I am going to click on the tag Sokoban though and just see which game is probably the most highlighted Sokoban under that tag. And immediately what I got was a anime adult game right at the top. There you go, we'll win with no cards and nothing on the field. So let's see. And then Baba Is You is apparently tagged as a Sokoban. Some of these games definitely have more going on. And apparently Seek Girl 5 or Seek Girl V is tagged as a Sokoban game. Some of these clearly. I know Steven Sausage Roll was one that's on my wish list, but it's always way too expensive. And there's a game called Sokoban with a D and Seek Girl 6, Seek Girl 3, wow, and a game called Teodoro. So there's just a massive amount of adult games under that category, which I don't know, maybe that would be one you would want to play, but Seek Girl 5 is not even reviewed well. Dungeons and Puzzles. This is the kind of thing I need to research on my own time. Let's see what the top rated one is. Top rated one is called A Monsters Expedition from September 10th. Or Chips Challenge 1 from 2015. It's hard to... A Good Snowman is Hard to Build from 2015. Interesting. It does kind of feel like the Seek Girl games would be the closest one to what I would be interested in playing if I wanted to play a box pushing Sokoban game. But I don't know if there's really a reason for that either, though. Yeah. Well, the Seek Girl, or which is actually misspelled, it says Seek Grill 6. Gril, not Girl. Although it's labeled correctly at the top of the page, which does interestingly point out that you can type different information there. Being only $1.49, the Seek Girl collection has 12 items for $10.36. And so is that actually 12 games? It does seem like that. There are 12 games, not all called Seek Girl. There's some spin-off games, but nothing nothing out of line as far as adult content. There is almost an argument for that, though, particularly for Westerners that don't want to play visual novels or RPGs that take forever to see small bits of adult content. A game where you just have to solve a couple box puzzles and then they show you an anime girl showing her underwear is much less of a commitment. But if you really just want to play a Sokoban game, it seems like there's not too many things to offer that are just straight up on that concept. This game here, Dungeons and Puzzles, for instance, looks very much like a Zelda game, not just a box puzzle pushing game. It is tagged Sokoban, and that's a fairly new game too. They're not, and of course when they start comparing it to other things, you have like Baba's U is more of a programming game, and none of these other games are, I think, anywhere close to Sokoban games. So you pretty much are just out of luck. Although I imagine if you did want to play a Sokoban game, you probably could get a free one on a cell phone very easily. Probably could get a dozen free Sokoban games on cell phones, and it would make a lot more sense for them to be cell phone games. I suppose that's worth mentioning. We had talked about previously that Apple had subpoenaed Valve to get information in their lawsuit against Epic. And Valve was being asked to basically give every single bit of corporate secret slash proprietary bit of information that Apple thought it could get away with. They wanted basically all the sales information for every version of every game they've sold on Steam. So they asked for like over 30,000 game listings and item listings. And then they came back and said, actually, we just want 400 game listings of these specific games. But even that would be incredibly valuable market insight if Apple wanted to make its own game storefront, which it inherently does, because let's think about this. The MacBooks and MacBook Pros, all of those are going to some kind of storefront. So at some point, some kind of PC is going to come out, or something that looks and feels a lot like a PC is going to come out, and Apple is going to want to have a walled garden and sell video games on top of everything else through a specific version of iTunes. But one of the things Valve is doing to try to get the judge to not force them to give them the listings of sales data from those 400 games is they're saying, well, their definition of a market is just wrong here, because the market that Valve plays in is a PC sales, and Valve and Steam do not sell cell phone games at all. And I certainly have thought in the past that it might be fairly smart if the Steam mobile app did allow you to install and sideload certain games that would be like free and intertied with PC games that are already in your Steam library. But I guess at the moment, we kind of know, because there is a lawsuit pending, at best I imagine Valve could only think about doing that and just be ready to pull the switch if that was their intention later on. Of course, if a judge does come back and say that Valve was wrong and there is no big difference between having a cell phone storefront and having a PC game storefront, then we may see Valve just pull the trigger and start to have mobile games that are part of your Steam library and interconnected with your Steam library, and use potentially Steam achievements and Steam trading cards if they even care about trading cards anymore. Meanwhile, on a side story, Censored Gaming's YouTube channel talked about how the classification system in Germany for adult content has some very stringent requirements to ensure that you actually are dealing with a adult when selling your products, to the point where one of the recommendations of how to prove that is to literally see the person face to face, which of course Steam can't do a video chat with every single adult that wants to buy an adult game on Steam in Germany. So they've decided to just pretty much stop selling any adult category games in Germany. But yeah, that is the pretty typical response anyways, is to if there's going to be any arduous government requirements, it's easier just to pull out of the market. Particularly in Europe, that's very, very easy to do, because you could easily always have sold violent and adult content games outside of Germany and other European Union states, and somebody would just have to drive across the border or VPN into a different country. That's in part some of the argument against the idea of Germany being in charge of the European Union and then effectively enforcing their ideals on the rest of the European Union. See, Shadowcraft or Havencraft now. We actually are doing fairly well. Moving on, we have a game called Meow Pow. I imagine is how you're supposed to pronounce that, not Meow POW as in Prisoner of War. This looks like it is mostly just a soccer game where you're bouncing balls around, trying to get them in goals. Free to play. Third party EULA for no reason. English only. This doesn't seem to have any in-app purchases, so I don't know the point here. This looks like it would just be a small little demo of a concept, or maybe a full game that somebody just wants to give away for free. But yeah, since it's free, I guess I don't need to review it. Here we have a game called Cyberpunk Ultimate, which looks like it's a dungeon crawler where you collect different characters. And it kind of like a Pokemon game with dungeon crawling. Doesn't look particularly interesting. $17.99 English only. Do we need to play that? I don't know if we do. Here we have a game called Ulna Online, which I believe Ulna is a bone in your hand. Maybe not in your hand. Maybe it's not spelled U-L-N-A. Regardless, this looks terrible as a game, and the images aren't loaded. I kind of hoped we'd fix that. English is not even supported in this one. It's just Portuguese Brazil. We can play that. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm ever going to be able to fix the images not loading. Here we have a game called Guan Moon High School, The Ghost Gate, which could be a visual novel from China or Korea. It's really gory there, so you kind of know it's not Japanese because they typically don't want to depict that. Seems like you maybe wander around in a point and click experience in a school, which that may not be a terrible idea. That is kind of what Corpse Party 1 is, although Corpse Party 1 frankly uses RPG Maker and I think might be too long of a game, really. I definitely would want to stick my toe into Corpse Party 1 and just play that first game before I thought about playing any of those, because I did see a YouTuber say it was kind of the only good game in the whole series. This is Korean. I'm going to put this on the follow list. $18.99 is fairly expensive. You can also kind of see how.
Laces, everyone. Work starts at sunset. Coming.
Okay, let's go ahead and hit that. No turn. You can kind of see how this game is not perfectly animated. It's not great.
You look kind of haunted. No, literally.
So I definitely want to see some reviews here.
I'll be on my way, master.
Next, we have a game on Steam called Where the Shadows Slumber, which apparently is a point-and-click puzzle platformer. Seems like it might be a perspective shifter where you rotate the image. Yeah, you use shadows, I guess, to cover up areas. $2.99, a bunch of languages. I'll put this on the follow list. There might be an idea there that works.
Laces, everyone. Work starts at sunset. Coming.
Go ahead and hit that.
Can I haunt you too?
And just evolve this.
I must bring the meal. So much work to do.
Either I've never seen the evolved version of the Ghostly Maid, or they changed the art on it. Wouldn't be surprised if it was that they changed the art. Here we have a game called U27RAREZNOANC3, or maybe Ultra Resonance. Looks like a cheap Chinese game. $7.99, English only. So I guess it's a cheap English game. Cheap Western game. Here we have a game called Ethereal Estates, which looks like it's a VR game where you pick up things and throw things around. Sandbox 3D simulator with physics. It's free though, so I can't say it's terrible. It doesn't look particularly great. I'll put this on the follow list. Requires, no, it doesn't use VR. Interesting. Well, then it looks fairly terrible in the fact that you're not using VR. I would have thought that that would have definitely been the case. And let's not get too distracted here.
Can I haunt you too?
Keep on playing. We still probably have a ton of tabs. Here we have a game on Steam called Chaos Road, which is a shoot 'em up game with cars, which that is slightly different, but it does kind of feel like it is just an infinite runner slash shoot 'em up bullet hell type game. Seems like the car turns into a plane at some point, which you would think you would want to kind of avoid that idea. $2.59 is too cheap for a bullet hell shoot 'em up. Full audio allegedly for every language it supports. We animate a 5 or do this. And then let's go ahead and evolve this.
Can I haunt
see. Next, we have a game on Steam called The Lost Dream, which looks like a game where you play as a kind of low polygon fox. I feel like I've seen several low polygon fox games. Let's see, $3.59. English full audio. Guess I'll give it a follow. But I also wouldn't be surprised one bit if it is just walking around as a fox and nothing else happens. I moved all of my microphone and cords, and now everything is just awkwardly crammed up in a pile. And I need to do a better job of organizing my setup. I had to move everything near my recording station, my chair and everything, because I was installing sconces on the walls behind me. And unfortunately I didn't have enough like remote receivers for the remote that I use to turn on all the lights that are plugged into outlets in my room. So that ended up putting my third monitor on the same extension cord as the sconce and a floor standing lamp I already had. And yeah, the sconces are nice. They give a little bit more clear light. I'm a big fan of like going with clear light or cool light instead of warm light. A lot of the bulbs I have right now are warm light, and they're yellowish, and I don't particularly like that. But they're also LEDs, so they are producing kind of a lot of temperature. So I've put yet another thing in my room that would just dump heat into the room on top of my PC, on top of 3 monitors, on top of several other electronic things, I'm sure.
What masterpiece will I create today?
Yeah. Sconces are nice. They're lights that install on a wall. And in the old days, a sconce would be a place where you would hang a candle on a wall. But unless you had a house that was originally designed to have them, there's not going to be any electrical wiring in your wall to work with that. So you have to have either a plug-in model that has a plug, and that's what I got, is plug-in models with dimmer things that you could then convert to a walled version. But even if you did have the wall set up, then it would just be on a light switch somewhere, and that's less easy to control than just having them be corded. So they kind of get into this catch-22 scenario where you're going to have a wire coming down the wall one way or the other, almost certainly, either in the wall or alongside the outside of the wall. Whereas modern technology-wise, you would like them to be just battery powered and have wireless controls to switch them on and off. Particularly if you were like living in an apartment or somewhere where you couldn't put screws in the walls. And it wasn't a big install to install 2 sconces. It literally was 4 screws. Well, four screws per sconce. 2 to remove the mounting plate, and 2 to mount the mounting plate to the wall, and then replace the first 2. Dutiful steed. I think we have to do something like this.
I'll serve in hopes of a better tomorrow. Now
And then
this
do that.
is a ride or die.
And then do something like that.
Chaotic good.
Mana, come forth.
Wrongdoing? Me? Loyalty is ironclad.
Well, that worked way better than I thought it would. It was kind of a hassle, though, certainly installing the sconces. And I know I'm just rambling about things I did, but heck, that's kind of what these live streams are all about. It was a hassle just because I was reaching over things and trying to not have to move a whole bunch of furniture to do something. And then the wall plaster, it needed the standard wall anchors to give it even a chance to not fall immediately back out of the hole. Because they're not long enough or thick enough screws that you would want to go find a stud and hang them on the stud. I guess I could have done that, but even if you had done that, then you create the problem if you screwed them into a stud that you wouldn't be able to at some point run wire behind that. So that also becomes a problem. Because you can't run wire behind a stud. You can run it next to a stud, and depending on how your lighting fixture looks, you might be able to hide a hole behind the fixture. But yeah,
I walked the edge.
they're very minimalist squares of fogged glasses with a metal heat sink in the middle of them. A silver metal heat sink. They weren't particularly fancy or particularly expensive, but they do put light in a place where I'm not normally going to get light, and I guess that's true for sconces more than most light fixtures, because I can certainly have a lamp or floor standing lamp that can get light somewhat close to a wall if there's room on the floor or room on a table for a lamp. But sconces allow you to make use of parts of a edge of a room that may have furniture next to it that won't really be as well served with just a regular lamp. Plus, lamps tend to put light upward, in a kind of roundish direction compared to a sconce, which is kind of more outward in its appearance.
Loyalty is ironclad. What do we have here?
Let's do that.
Steal yourself.
That.
Everything
Do we
all
want
right
to
here?
evolve something here? Just gonna stick to holding on to the evolves, since I'm gonna win next turn anyways. Anyways, back to video games. We have a game here called Survive After Hell. This is just a first-person shooter asset flip game. $4.79. I suppose what we could do here is we could start covering the tabs, since I see a few tabs that aren't just video games on Steam, and we could potentially leave some Steam games later for Monday. Hopefully the internet will still be working. Also, I have like 9 hours of footage left that I could record, so I need to free up more disk space. Here we have a game called UC Kart, which apparently is Unity Chan Kart. This is, again, just a low effort kart racing game with some Unity anime characters to show off. Early access, 99 cents, English and Japanese. There was a whole real effort to make an anime style Mario Kart game. Actually somewhat close to Double Dash, that came out less than a year ago, and it failed miserably because while they seemingly tried hard to develop the game, they kind of failed miserably in actually polishing the game and having it play well.
No way!
Steal yourself. What do we have here?
Should have played that first. Yeah. That would have buffed up a lot of people and done more damage. Let's see. We have a TechRaptor article here. Genshin Impact's KFC collab was partially canceled for public safety. This, I assume, is happening in either Korea or Japan. I doubt this was happening in the United States. Chinese. It was in China. There was a large number of people lining up in advance. They were concerned about it, so they partially canceled it. Yeah. Not really a good time to be having a crossover event of any sort, let alone the ridiculous crossover event that was Genshin Impact and KFC. Although that does certainly highlight that the Chinese, at least a decent percentage of Chinese fans of Genshin Impact do exist. We have a job listing here from Gamma Sutra if you want to be the senior gameplay engineer for Heart Machine in Culver City, California. Kind of wish I knew what Heart Machine was working on. I recognize the name, but just don't know, and I don't have time to look it up. We have a article here that an analyst says video game consoles surpassed $50 billion in spending in 2020. That's somewhat believable. Like, there certainly wasn't a lot of other things going on in 2020 that you could have spent your time or money on. Earthright 2. Can I get 2 Earthrights on the field? I don't feel like I can. Okay. Gotta evolve this. And then hit that. Oh, it's this guy. Darn it.
Squishy body you have.
I won't lose next time.
This guy's gonna be alive, so I just need to try and win next turn.
You want something? You gotta fight for it.
Let's speed things up.
I have a Gamma Sutra article that's taking forever to load. Here we have Gamma Sutra saying Loop Hero has surpassed 500,000 sales during its launch week. This game, Loop Hero, I'm hearing a lot of people talking about it. Visually, it doesn't look like it's much of anything, and from what I've heard, it kind of is a partially passive game. But on the other hand, I love Destiny Child, and that's a game where you can be fairly partially passive too, so that might just be the concept going forward, is that we will see just more instances of second screen games where you're not having to put your main focus into it. Like, as I'm speaking, I'm actually setting up Destiny Child to continue to search for raids, which are randomly generated events that you're trying to get a bunch of. Gamma Sutra has an article. There's a job listing here as a senior gameplay programmer for Digital Extremes in London, Ontario. Let's do that. Let's do that. Do that. Here we have a Gamma Sutra article. EA is going to publish its debut project from the UK studio Silver Rain Games. I guess UK studio was launched by Assassin's Creed and Raised by Wolves actor Abu Bakr Salim, with the remit of welcoming a new audience to the game industry. I don't know who this person is. He must have been in the Assassin's Creed movie. So let's see what he looks like. Alright. See his IMDb. Alright, so here he is. He was known for Assassin's Creed Origin, so he must have played a character. And Raised by Wolves is a HBO miniseries or movie. And he plays father there. He plays Bavek there. Let's see, is he known for anything else? Few other things. He was a voice in World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth, Thomas and Friends. Let's do this. He was in a Black Mirror episode as an airport guard in Nosedive. Was in Spotless. Yes. So he's kind of a new guy, and he's decided to start his own video game company. Interesting. Well, he also was a producer too, so that's interesting to say the least. That you might gain just a small amount of success as an actor and producer, and then have such confidence in yourself to to move on and do a deal with EA. Of course, EA is in a weird position because they've not been a particularly great publisher for anybody in a very long time. So they're not even a particularly good publisher for their own games. So whatever Abu Bakr Salim potentially makes from Silver Rain Games, I feel like it's very possibly going to be terrible and laden with microtransactions.
And goodbye.
Moving on, we have a game called Wave Break for the Switch and PC launching in late spring. I found out that Wave Race 64 was not the first Wave Race game. There was actually an NES game called Wave Race, apparently. I wouldn't recommend actually going back and playing it, though. This game looks like it might be something. Although the weird teddy bear type creatures while you're or potentially running around and creating water parks seems kind of crazy. I just don't know if there's enough of a game there to interest anybody. Even when Wave Race was originally out, it kind of was a weird choice of a game, because it's not like even rich kids had a high enough percentage of experience around the idea of doing tricks on a Sea-Doo, and Sea-Doo tricks never became a mainstream sport or event or anything people would be interested in. Here we have a Gamatsu article. Dying Light 2 developer update is set for March 17th. I would like to see them announce that they're ready to release it. I would hate to see them announce a delay or yet another delay. I think this would be yet another delay at this point. Let's see. Summon a ghost. Is there anything that we could reanimate for 3? Do this.
Coming for
And then
you.
let's do this.
Coming for you.
And let's go ahead and evolve here.
I must bring the meal. So much work to do.
Do that.
Detestable.
That.
Detestable.
It's interesting that the character just looks completely different. They're in a red shirt instead of a blue shirt. Their hair is black instead of blonde. Could destroy something and resummon something, but I don't see a reason to. Gamatsu has an article here, Crash Bandicoot 4, it's about time for PC launches on March 26th, which it will launch via battle.net, which yeah, I guess is because it's Activision that's publishing it. What's weird there, though, is I don't think the other Crash Bandicoot games have been released on battle.net, nor do I feel like there's any Crash games on any other storefront. Let's try this. Get rid of Ghost.
I'm coming for you.
Alright, can we evolve? No.
Thus the world begins.
We can hit that, though. In the turn. Crash Bandicoot 4 is out right now for the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and Switch. Here we have a game called Psyche Zenkoku Hin Plus to end its digital sale on March 31st in Japan. This is a PS video game. It's now on sale for 1,000 yen. This looks like a very old Mahjong Vita game. I don't know when they say in digital sale, what do they mean? They're gonna raise the price back up, or if they mean they're just gonna remove it from sale completely. It's kind of crazy to see anybody talking about a PS Vita game. This came out in 2015, and even then that would have been fairly late. We very easily will get more bits of information like this where we will see more and more focusing of the ending of selling selling things on the Vita, as the Vita has been pretty much abandoned. I imagine Vita owners are not particularly happy with Sony anyways. Moving on, we have Rust Console Edition for the PS4 Pro and Xbox One gameplays. They're due out in the spring, so this is a console edition trailer, which, yeah, okay, I kind of don't care enough about Rust to watch this trailer. It's 17 minutes actually too. So, yeah. Seek out that article, I guess, if you're interested. Let's see. Reanimate 5. 2. that. Do we want to evolve something? Sure, why not?
Okay.
When life gets boring, frolic with the
I feel like I'm gonna just lose.
You withstood it all.
Still, what does this do?
Grant them courage.
We have a Switch game here called Caravan Stories, launching on March 18th in Japan. Looks like it's a JRPG by the looks of it, or an Asian RPG. Yep, nothing else really to say there. A new Metal Saga game called Project Wolf has been announced. So this is publisher success in Kadakawa Games announced Project Wolf, a completely new RPG entry in the Metal Max sister series during the Metal Max 30th anniversary. Okay. So I don't really know what the Metal Max series is. So Project Wolf with a logo looks interesting, but that's about all you can say about it. TechRaptor has an article here. Apparently Little Big Planet servers have gone offline after a reported DDoS, distributed denial of service attack. Another server was also set on fire, basically had a big fire, I think in Europe, and they lost a bunch of data and connectivity to some game, and I'll see if I can figure out which game that was. Whereas a DDoS would only be probably a temporary knockdown of services. Well, I imagine you could, if you had a very poorly configured setup, you could potentially allow a DDoS to do permanent damage also, but you just have to be careful about not ensuring that didn't happen. Apparently this game, the Mixed Game Dev Direct 2021 is an event that's going to be happening on, well, today, and so they may talk about something interesting. Let's see if this list of games, if it can recognize any of these. No, not really recognizing any of these games. Hello Neighbor 2 and like Grime. This looks recognizable. But the rest of these, Read Older Memories, Neurodiver is recognizable. These look like just kind of the standard collection of indie games that are decent about advertising themselves. System Shock. That hopefully would be the remake and not the original System Shock. Windjammers 2. So, yeah. And this event is sponsored by PlayStation, who is a bronze sponsor. Apparently there is no silver or gold sponsor at all. And then Head Up is the only other company I even recognize there as a supporting sponsor. If PlayStation is a bronze sponsor, that means they wanted a ridiculous amount of money to call somebody a silver or gold sponsor, and nobody took them up on the offer. Here we have a game on Steam called Snow Wars, which is just a snowman shooting people for $1.79, English Russian. Clearly that's a low effort game. I've run out of other tabs. Here we have a game called Bok Bok, a chicken dating simulator, which, yep, that looks like nothing. 99 cents English. Looks like it's a kind of rhythm game or color matching game. Let's just hit that and end the turn. Obviously not anything of interest. Here we have a game called Pirate Island, which looks like it might actually be something here as a side scroller. There probably, if I was to guess, is not enough of a game here. It's like probably less than an hour. It's $1.79. It's English only. It says it has 2 story comics and high difficulty, which neither one of those inspire confidence. But I'll put it on the follow list just because I'm a sucker, I suppose. If I do this, it would do 1 damage to everything, which then lets me do that to kill somebody. White Day 2, The Flower That Tells Lies, has been announced. This would be, I suppose, the sequel to the Korean horror game White Day 1. Although I feel like there might have been a side game between White Day 1 and White Day 2. This trailer definitely not showing you much as far as apparently a White Day 2 called Swan Song for the PS4 was announced in 2017 but never released. So apparently that the name got changed, or they killed that project and decided to make a different sequel. But honestly, that's not even too long of an amount of time to be stuck in development hell. We've definitely seen worse. Metal Max Xeno Reborn 2 has been officially titled Metal Max Wild West, which this was another announcement. Unfortunately, this image still is not really showing me anything as far as what Metal Max Xeno is. For the PS4 and Switch, The Wicked King and the Noble Hero has an opening cutscene and tutorial gameplay. We've heard about this game and seen some things about it before. It's where there's one blind kid and then one like demon leading the blind kid around. This is one of these trailers where it's jumping all around because it's one extremely long live stream, so I just skipped past the important stuff that I was trying to talk about. But I imagine it wasn't that important anyways. Okay.
I'll fry you to a crisp.
Here we have a game on Steam called Disc Golf Adventures 2 VR, which I feel like that you are potentially going to get something different playing disc golf in VR, because you can't really play disc golf on the moon. But this is still pretty much just asset flip, game design, and you're going to be swinging your arm in VR and potentially hitting something. $7.49 is not a terrible price for VR. It's English only. If this looks like something that interests you, maybe check it out. But personally, I don't think I don't even like disc golf that much, so that's not an issue. Here we have a game on Steam called Tank Wars Anniversary Edition, which is just a clone of an old game. Really, nothing else. $7.99, English only. Almost certainly not developed by the person who originally created any game called Tank Wars, if that was the original game that played like that. I recall it being a gorilla throwing bananas at each other. At least that's the version I recall that playing.
Human?
This match is mine.
Right.
I'm done sticking my head. I told
So
you to leave.
hit this, and then hit this, and then I guess we put that on the field. Let's see, TechRaptor has an article here. Pokemon Go eggs will soon display a list of potential Pokemon. So, I guess that's going to be easier for people trying to get specific Pokemon instead of just random gacha elements in the game. Although I imagine there are some people that enjoyed the random gacha elements in the game and are probably going to be upset that now it kind of tells you. I'm sure there's some way you can manipulate the eggs or trade the eggs. A soft launch for RetroArch for the Apple Mac M1 launched today. So the M1 chip is a slightly different kind of chip, a proprietary chip. So rebuilding all of the cores and all of the code from RetroArch is going to be is going to take a little work and a little bit more time. There's an OpenGL version or a bare metal version. Ideally, I think you'd want the bare metal version, and they are labeling these as x86 and x64/ARM Max, although the OpenGL does not seem to support ARM, just Max. So they're just going to label things as Max, as MAC. So yeah, if you want to be on the cutting edge of experimentation and you have an M1 chip running Apple machine, you might check that out. Otherwise, give it some time and let them fix the bugs. Here we have a game called Blobbert on Steam, which looks like nothing. Here we have a game called Vodka with a bunch of periods in between each letter. An open world survival shooter. Clearly just a generic concept. 74 cents English only. Here we have a game called Velocity Vector, which looks like it's a 3D hover racing game for VR at $12.74. I can't help but think you're going to be very motion sick, and if you're controlling a vehicle as this is pod racing basically. They want you to be using 2 controllers. Yeah, I feel like you would get motion sick with this. You can jump up by whipping the engines downward. $12.74 English, allegedly full audio. I think I would say no to that. That just doesn't look like it could move fast enough to really feel like a good racing game, and it just doesn't feel like there's enough variety for a racing game either. Here we have a game on Steam called 1 Million Fatal Guns. This is being published by Digipen, so this is like the idea of having procedurally generated guns have already been done by Borderlands, so it seems kind of ridiculous that they would just clone that idea and not go any further with it. It's free though, because it is a student project, although they're not bothering to mention that it's a student project. But it obviously has to be, otherwise Digipen is getting into a weird ethical dilemma of becoming a publisher of non-student projects. That would be a weird choice on their part. And it's still a free game, so I don't know why they would benefit from publishing somebody else's game. Here we have a game on Steam called Zack2 Celestine's Map, which almost looks like a game. Looks like a game from the 90s. $14.99 English full audio. Yeah, the graphics just don't look anywhere good enough to justify that price.
Embrace your vast potential.
Okay.
Mana, come forth.
Learn to covet on a great. You leave a lot
Get
to be
this.
desired.
Get that.
Opportunities abound.
Here we have the game Cyanide and Happiness Freak Apocalypse. This game came out as an Epic Store exclusive, and then people really didn't like it unless they made 2 Cyanide and Happiness games in the past couple of years. Maybe they did. Regardless, nobody really liked it. The thing about Cyanide and Happiness comics in particular is that they're only funny for the 1 to maybe 3 panels in the gag that they're doing. Trying to stretch out into a video game is highly unlikely to succeed. You also have a fairly high price at $17.99. And yeah, English full audio, rated M for a lot of things there. So yeah, I just don't think you're likely to have much of a entertaining experience with anything based on Cyanide and Happiness. Okay, do 4 damage or play this.
You've got the face of a chameleon.
Earth and assault.
And then go ahead and just evolve this.
I love how you slither. What a squishy body you have.
If anything, I guess I should see if there actually is another Cyanide and Happiness game that ever came out. Here we have a game on Steam called The Dark Side of the Moon, where this is a full motion video game. Come on, screenshots load up. Will they load up this time? Nope, they won't.
Rain drowns the wails of the
Reload the page. So yeah, full motion video cinematic. Looks like it's actually been shot fairly well. This doesn't look like just a bunch of jokers doing a low effort development of a game. Of course, a lot of these full motion video games don't have much as far as gameplay mechanics. $13.99 English full audio. This is the kind of game that really benefits from having a following list. That way you can tell whether or not like you can tell whether or not you're
All magic falls under my purview.
see. Not ready for that. But I kind of can't do anything. I used that card way too early. Yeah, a game like The Dark Side of the Moon, really, it could be great, it could be terrible, it's probably somewhere in the middle, but since it is all around cinematics as a main focus, that's where user reviews are going to be helpful, because a stationary screenshot doesn't really tell me much. Next we have a game on Steam called Trap Arena, which, yeah, is standard first-person shooter for $1.19. Let's see. Can we do anything here? You could do that.
Ice is snow joke.
Wow, that worked.
You don't stand a chance.
To coldly go where no one has gone before.
And then I can do
serve
that
hopes of a better
too.
tomorrow. Season sleetings.
That was resplendent.
And you can play a whole bunch of defense. Here we have a game called Angry Celt Warrior, and by the graphics alone you can tell it's a low effort game that seemingly was a cell phone game first for $5.99. Nothing more needs to be said about that game. Here we have a game called Tanky Tanks, which is just a top-down twin-stick shooter for $3.74. We are not getting as many victories as I would like to have gotten. Let's see. Here we have a game called Midnights of Desperado, which looks like it's an RPG maker slash visual novel, probably Chinese if I was to guess. $2.39, Chinese only, yep. Here we have a game called Tadpole Tales, which is a side-scrolling shooter, and it's rated very positively, and it does look like it's kind of a kid-friendly side-scroll shooter. I guess the question would be how difficult this game is. It's free to play. I'm gonna put this on the follow list because I just want to follow it for real. Like it feels like it might have an environmental, just keep the lakes and rivers clean message. Yeah, if you were gonna try and get a kid into a side-scrolling shooter game, you would have to be fairly cautious about giving them something that was really easy to play. At least to wean them into the incredible difficulty that most bullet hell shooters are. That being said, I imagine, and I've heard some rumors, that kids these days are often more willing to play more difficult games than I would have thought. But they may very well, because of the pandemic, just have a lot more time on their hands and a lot more determination. I do, thinking back when I was young, recall that there was a lot of things I was determined to do, and I spent a lot of time on when I should have given up a lot earlier. Here we have a game called Flykt, L-Y-K-T, which seems to be some kind of horror game, maybe player versus player. It's early access for $4.99, online PvP, English only, procedurally generated dungeons, 4-player co-op horror game. Players try to escape abandoned hospital. So it's not player versus player then. Seems to be fairly gory bodies just laying around. I know this is probably an asset flip game, and even if it was, I don't think it'd be something I could play, but kind of want to put it on the follow list. There is something to be said about there not really being too many horror games that are willing to show gory, dismembered body parts throughout the game. That is kind of the case with horror movies too, is that there are just things that have become commonplace and acceptable, and then there's still a lot of things that if you wanted to push the limits or be artistic and do something different, it would get shouted down or get censored. And yeah, I think you often can argue that fragile sensitivities have become a little bit more fragile these days in a lot of cases. I don't know if you could do something like The Exorcist where you got a possessed little girl screaming horrific things and vomiting nowadays. I feel like there'd be a lot of concern around that. This guy's gonna take forever. Here we have a game on Steam called Nightmare Survival, which is a top-down twin-stick shooter. It is a different art style, but it is about 4 different enemies and you're wandering around. A floor is like a little toy, so I think you're probably shooting like dust bunnies. It's 59 cents, English full audio. They're comparing it to The Evil Within and The Evil Within 2. That is wrong. Next we have a game called Pascal's Wager Definitive Edition, which is targeted as a Souls-like. And as much as I may like the skirt here, it is mixed reviewed. It's already on my fall list, so like logically, when you have 315 reviews and it's only hitting 62%, and this is the definitive edition, that tells me there's probably not going to be any more polish to the game. And I don't really want to play a Souls-like anyways, so I think that can leave the following list. And there definitely is something stupid to potentially putting games on the following list just because a character has a skirt. Yeah. Moving on, we have a game called WWR World of Warfare Robots, which is mostly negative. 36% negative with 11 reviews. And I don't really see enough here that would counter out that negative things. In all fairness though, if this was a good game and 11 people just decide to review bomb it, that seems like a low number of people that could convince people not to play it. It's free to play with in-app purchases and a third-party EULA, which that implies to me that that probably is the focus of the big problems, is that it's not much of a game and it wants more money. Here we have a game called Rogue Explorers, which looks like it's just platforming, kind of inspired by Rogue Legacy, but doesn't look anywhere as good. Pixel art hack and slash game for $6.79, English and Japanese. I just don't think the visuals are there to this. Plus, if I was going to play something like Rogue Legacy at this point, I should just wait to play Rogue Legacy 2. So that's not making it to the fall list. Here we have a game called Hard Cop 2, which looks like it is a low effort Wolfenstein low polygon game. $1.99, English allegedly full audio. Do this and that. Here we have a game called The Wacky Wizarding Dungeon, which it too looks like nothing. It's early access for $4.79, English only. Here we have a game called Happy Halloween, which looks like it's just a platforming game where you're trying to, I assume, collect all the jack-o'-lanterns. 59 cents English. Here we have a game called Red Robin, which looks like it's an RPG Maker game of no importance. I wonder if there literally was just a handful of games that actually did succeed with RPG Maker. This one's English isn't supported. It's Chinese only, $2.99. That might be the reason why we still see a ton of RPG Maker games getting made. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense at all. Here we have a game called Koropata, which is tagged as a cute puzzle experimental programming game. So, are you supposed to program with actions here, or does the character just always walk to the left and interact with everything that they run into? Yeah, it's kind of like an Incredible Machine type game where you're dropping items. So you start with a certain number of items, and the character reacts one way or the other. Okay, there might be something here. $19.99 English, Japanese. That's gonna be fairly high price. I'm not sure there actually is an actual game here. Plus, this looks like this is a game that was made for like a old computer game, and it's just being ported and emulated. Doesn't look like it's a new experience. I'll put it on the following list. Of course, if I had the actual Incredible Machine game, if they brought that back and remastered, remade that, or then I would not give it a game like this the time of day. Even though Koropada is kind of doing something slightly different in that it actually has a character. Moving on, we have a game called Sapper Defuse the Bomb Simulator, which is already rated as mostly negative. And it doesn't look like it's anything in any way better than Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes. It's early access for $7.99 English full audio. Let's see, wonder what the reviews are. You just wait for a little light to show up, what color wire they cut, and that's it. The first level's just an hour of slow walking, digging through trash cans. The hacking is lazy and frustrating. Well, that certainly is enough of a bad review for me to ignore that game. Here we have a game called Tabris Yor, which looks like there might be slightly enough visual polish here to think that there might be a first-person shooter experience to this game. I imagine the reviews will say no. Looks like you're mostly shooting in narrow alleyways. Early access $6.99. I'll put it on the following list. Has this developer made anything else? No. Haven't. Summon a lich. Summon that.
You look kinda haunted. No,
Then
literally.
do this. And just do this.
Wherever you are.
Oh, so it's
Hit
a fight
that.
you want.
And hit that.
You're a solid fighter.
If I've kind of won, then
I did it.
I don't think I really want to play any extra. Well, I could certainly grind and try to get higher in the rankings. Once we get 3 more victories, which that'll probably take quite a while and probably not get it done today, that would be the end of it as far as me playing Shadowverse. I just have no desire within me to actually do more Shadowverse. We have a game here, Monster Energy Supercross, the official video game 4, which seems like every Monster Energy Supercross game that gets released is not well received. $49.99, published by Milestone SRL, which, did they publish the other ones too? They published MotoGP, MXGP 2020, which is mixed. MotoGP 20 was well received. Monster Energy Supercross, the official video game 3, is very positive now. So maybe it just takes them a ton of time to fix things. Yeah, this company has made a whole bunch of the exact same MotoGP series of games, and that's it. They have like 30 games under their belt.
Mother, father.
Here we have a game called Box the Beat VR, which
Dark petals shall
I
dance
assume
on your
is
grave.
just a VR rhythm game. Yeah, it looks very much like the Beat Dancer or whatever that game is. $15.29. English only. Beat Saber? Is that the name of it? I think that might be the name of it. Yeah. They're not even so much sabers, unless you mean lightsabers, and compared to saber swords. Actually, come to think of it, lightsabers aren't much of sabers either. Sabers, I think, have a curve to them. I'll take that free victory. Next, we have a game here called Dragon Blast, which clearly this is just a cell phone game being ported for $6.99 English only. Nothing more needs to be said there. Here we have a game called Bonky Track, the Quimdung edition. This clearly is a low effort joke game for $4.79.
Mother, father, come on.
Here we have a game called Another Warfare, which is apparently a military shoot 'em up game. I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to play somebody who's running around like a British explorer shooting aboriginals. That seems kind of weird. And this is one of those games that also feels like there's not any variety in the levels. 79 cents English only. Here we have a game called Japanese Drag Racing, which this looks like a cell phone game too. Yeah, it looks terrible. Interesting to have a drag racing game where you're looking from the side just so you can see the skins of the car. $1.97, 1% discounted. English allegedly full audio. No thanks for that. Here we have a game called Days of Heroes D-Day, which looks like it's low polygon military game. We can see it's already mixed. Requires VR. It's $14.99. I don't think I'd want to pay $14.99 for that. I'm not sure I'd want to play a VR game simulating D-Day. Anyways. If anything, my channel has been fairly great about mostly avoiding any real-world simulations of wartime events. And I'm fine with playing like Wolfenstein, but I probably don't want to play Call of Duty or something more realistic like that. Here we have a game called Nako, which obviously is a low effort puzzle game with just a bunch of squares. Short, minimal, logical thinking game for 99 cents. Bunch of languages. Allegedly full audio for each of those languages. I'm just trying to get to the end of the tabs, and then I'll call it a day. We'll still have a ton of games. Here we have one called Count of the Dead, which is just a top-down twin-stick shooter of zombies. $11.99, English and German full audio. Yeah, it's not worth that price. Let's hit this. Here we have a game called Occult the Interrogation. Are you innocent or guilty? Which seems like it's an interactive fiction story with some unique, like, pagan demonic imagery. Take your pick. Animals, skeletons.
Let the heavens be our shepherd.
This feels like this is probably a cell phone game that's been ported, but it looks like it might be an interesting enough story. There was a cell phone game I played like that. Particularly for $2.99, they're not asking a lot. English and Spanish. Let's put this on the follow list. This might not really be anything of importance. And unlike the cell phone one I played, it doesn't look like it has a clicker element to the gameplay, because that certainly slowed down the whole process a lot.
Is it edible? Only one way to find out.
Continue to believe.
Let's see. Might be able to turn this around.
My stomach.
Next we have a game called Isolationist Nightclub Simulator, which they're calling a walking simulator. To me it looks like it's an asset flip, low effort game. $4.49. I haven't been drinking much water today, and now my throat's going dry.
This town eats good folk for breakfast.
The uncharted desert awaits.
Here we have a game called A Random Maze, which looks like it might be a Chinese
I will protect
RPG Maker experience. I don't hate this art style of the characters. Like, that's not a terrible animation. That's not terrible. You could just call that an artistic interpretation. But the actual game is just nothing. It's free to play, it's Chinese only, so it's a shame. I kind of feel like if that had been translated, I might be interested in it. Alright. If we do this,
I shall give birth to a new world.
Best of luck to you.
I can't evolve that. Here we have a game called Estilia Royale, which is mostly negative with 196 reviews. It's a free-to-play RPG. Looks like it might just be arena battles.
You're too strong.
Free-to-play with in-app purchases of all kinds of stuff. MMO, Korean, English, and German. Let's see. Some of these reviews say, let me preface this by saying I really wanted to like the game. It's 174% pay to win. Apparently, according to that reviewer, and I guess that would be my guess as to what's going on there. Here we have a game called Sigurinn Baldo, where we've got a lot of weird named games here. And this, to me, looks like it is heavily stealing from the
underestimate me.
Dark
Oh,
Souls,
yeah,
Demon
I
Souls
smell
series.
trouble.
Target sighted.
English not supported, free to play, Japanese only. Apparently no in-app purchases. So it must be nothing because it's mixed reviewed. For a free game, you would think it would be much better reviewed than that. Let's see, next we have a game called Spy Escape, which is tagged as a puzzle platformer. Yeah, it doesn't look like anything either. Looks like it's just a Chinese low effort kind of RPG thing. No, it's a Japanese low effort kind of RPG puzzle game. Next we have Behold the Dark. Man, so many of these games are just garbage. Yep, this is no exception for $2, English only. If I hadn't opened so many garbage games and curated even a little bit, we would have been done by now. Here we have a game called Jade Ascension, which seems to be a top-down twin-stick shooter game where you go up levels in a tower. Feels like a cell phone game that's been ported properly to Steam. But it doesn't feel like there could be too much going on, that the levels and the size of the characters limit you kind of heavily. Feels kind of like it's a roguelike game. $10.79, English, Spain, Spanish. I'll put this on the follow list. Though I would be happily surprised if it turned out that that Jade Ascension actually was a good game. Whereas here we have yet another low effort anime girl in a World War II scenario. So we have Inglorious Waifus versus Nazi zombies. Here. This time with Hitler prominent. They haven't gone that far before. $1.19, English only. It's so ridiculous that these games are not getting caught earlier. There needs to be a requirement that you have to lock down the name of a game and submit it earlier than day of release. And there should be, I mean, it's very easy to just have keyword searches that say anything with waifu or Nazi or zombies in the name should be looked at by a real person. And unless there's just somebody at Valve and Steam that just hates their job so much and wants to get fired, there's no way a game like that should have been shown in front of a real person and approved.
Spell looks so sweet, you'll get cavities.
I mean, they can spout their hands-off libertarian approach as much as they want, but nobody is giving them any credit or good publicity because they let a game like that on their storefront. Valve has just been very lucky that CNN or some other cancel culture style channel hasn't decided to do an expose highlighting these types of games.
Spell looks so sweet, you'll get cavities.
Next we have a game on Steam called Hide and Seek, which looks like it's basically nothing. Bunch of dark screenshots and hiding and seeking for $2.39, bunch of languages. Here we have a game called Rogue Glitch, which doesn't look like anything really. A platformer shooter, free to play with an online mode for $4.49, English only. That's a weird way to sell a game in particular, is to sell the online mode and give the main game away. This game is very popular, so I'm gonna put on the follow list to give it some more consideration though. At first glance, I would just dismiss this, but maybe I'm just getting a little too cranky, as it were, and I should give it some more opportunity. Let's do this.
Is that a human?
And then this.
Different colors, same great
Yes.
taste. A glimpse into the future is only the beginning.
Mana, come forth.
I'm done sticking my. I told you to leave.
Do
Farewell,
that.
dragon.
Here we have a game called Death by Frostbite, which looks like nothing.
How did I lose?
Early access for $9.99. Here we have a game called What the Maze, which obviously is just going to be a maze game. Seems to have some survival elements to it. $5.39, English only. Nope. Still a lot of dark screenshot elements. So yeah, I'd kind of like to wrap up at this point, but we're gonna have to try something different if we're gonna do that. Because I'm not getting through games, so I guess it's time to implement the Control Tab feature,
Underestimate me.
in which I can
Come on.
tab pages forward until I hit something that isn't a Steam listing. About 30. Right. About 30 extra tabs forward now. But moving around that is going to be pretty much impossible. TechRaptor has an article. Borderlands 3's director's cut delay has been caused by the Texas winter storm. So, we may have already talked about that. If anything, I guess that just proves that they actually, Gearbox in Texas was actually working on the director's cut, or whoever was working on the director's cut was actually in Texas, instead of potentially it being shopped out to another location. TechRaptor has an article. An indie publisher, Lost in Cult, is kickstarting a new video game journal. Which, okay. But a journal around video games is not really a video game, so that basically doesn't feel like relevant news
I'm just warming up.
to me. TechRaptor has an Avatar: The Last Airbender RPG interview, which I don't know if this is. This must be a tabletop game. Yeah, it is. And I guess at some point they aged up the characters. They aged up this character to be more of an adult, where they didn't really age up this character. And I don't even know about these two characters. Let's see. Guess you play that. Guess we could
I'm just
wait.
warming up.
the Game Grumps included game House Party is coming to the Pornhub owned adult video game store Nutaku. House Party has been played a lot by Game Grumps, these two characters. And they've promoted what was frankly a pretty low effort garbage game much more. It is interesting though that this is a continuing instance of Nutaku trying to get more
Attention,
like
everyone, I need to borrow your bones.
what would be the right word to say?
A galaxy of gems tumbles and twirls.
Can't evolve.
I'm just warming up.
I guess Nuntaku is trying to get more mainstream adult games instead of weird, you've never heard of them adult games. I wouldn't be surprised if Nuntaku is under perhaps more of a focus to make profit, as Pornhub had to delete a lot of their content. And I won't mind to say Pornhub kind of sucks now. So yeah, they did release some new game content for the Nutaku game I'm playing, College Days, enough to make me still kind of think about playing it.
Ice is snow choke.
Interesting.
Mana, come forth.
To coldly go where no season sleetings.
There is a argument around YouTube and the Game Grumps in particular that also needs to be had, because I feel like the Game Grumps are hand chosen to be successful on YouTube and allowed thusly to specifically do more mature content and monetize that more mature content, where a small-time YouTuber wouldn't be allowed to do that, or wouldn't be allowed to succeed in doing that. Let's see if we hit this one first, and then hit this.
The earth reigns from above. Earth
And
and
hit
assault.
that.
I'm just warming up.
Kinda
I'm
wanna
just warming up.
keep on doing things.
Anyone ever told you what a snake you are?
Did they all attack? Like that guy didn't attack.
Match is mine.
I'm ready for more. What do we have here?
Shutting down.
Let's see. TechRaptor has an article here for the Magnificent Truffle Pigs mixes digging and romance. This was a game that was announced by AMC, the movie theater chain, as far as I understand it. From the creator of Everyone Is Gone to the Rapture. See what it actually looks like. I guess AMC getting into the video game publishing business might make some sense. they would have the money and not really a lot of the know-how, but I mean, what else could they do in the middle of being forced to being shut down? TechRaptor has an article here, Super Mario RPG, a localization retrospective, if that interests you. That's the kind of article, though, that would just waste my time. Gamma Sutra has Roblox goes public and kicks off with a long-awaited direct listing. So it's from the 10th, so we should be fairly close to the end. HTC Vive launched a facial tracker and a third generation Vive tracker, which I guess is just a head tilt tracker. So it's kind of like a camera that probably through infrared maps your lips onto an avatar in the game, so you could talk to people and your lips would move.
What do we have here?
Ow! Earth and assault! You're
I'm just warming up. I'm just warming up.
And when
You're too strong!
here's that article I was talking about. Data centers blaze wipes out Rust players' data across 25 EU servers. So it was Rust that the fire happened at.
That should do it.
Rogue Games raised $2.5 million to expand multi-platform publishing business. I don't know Rogue Games. Super Impossible Road and Sociable Soccer publisher. Two games I don't recognize. And we would need one more victory or two more victories. Either way. Let's see. Quantum League for PC launches April 15th, according to Gematsu. Trying really. Beyond the Steel Sky is coming to PS4, Xbox One, and Switch in Q3 of 2021. The console versions will be published by Microids. Do want to play Beyond the Steel Sky, but I don't know if there's enough justification to play it early at a high price. Gematsu has the Famitsu sales from the 1st to the 7th, which a whole bunch of Nintendo Switch things, and yeah, PlayStation's still taking up 3, 4, and 5. But the PlayStation 4 Pro in particular is basically no longer being sold at all. It's selling less units than even the Xbox Series S. And I would say the Xboxes do seem like they are selling more. Of course, it's in the middle of a pandemic, so all of them should be selling more, or all of them should be selling less, however it goes. Gematsu has a otome young maiden visual novel called Ken ga Kimi coming to the Switch on June 24th in Japan. Which, yeah. See what this trailer seems to show. Not a lot of anything, just a collection of anime guys in kind of feudal dress.
What masterpiece will I create today?
A potential Steins Gate announcement has been teased for March 17th, so potentially another Steins Gate game. Those being visual novels. It'd be weird if they came out with a Steins Gate that wasn't a visual novel. Let's see.
I go with the wind.
Little Witch Nobita in development content trailer shows off new skills, adventures, and enemies. And part of the problem, I think, with this is that the anime magic girl in a Dark Souls game looked like it was an interesting idea if it was going to be easy, at least to me. And I feel like what they're doing is that they're going more and more into the idea of it becoming more and more difficult and closer to a Dark Souls experience. And I'm sure people could make a great argument that Dark Souls isn't really that hard. You just take your time and have to focus, but it's not really what I would want to have to do if I was going to play Little Witch Nobita. It is getting a decent amount of focus and promotion. Alright. Earth Ritual 2. Do 4 damage instead. Or you can do that. Or you can do that.
Got to roam in style. Eradicate all demons.
A game called Smashing the Battle Ghost Soul is now available in North America. This is an enhanced version of a hack and slash action game. I've not heard of this. It looks different.
Eradicate all demons.
Looks like it's heavy on the cleavage. The camera looks a little too zoomed in, frankly, and perhaps intentionally it's zoomed in, but this kind of does make it look like it's a visual mess, and that there really isn't an actual experience there of any interest. Yeah, I don't know if the cleavage is going to convince me that this game is a keeper. Right, can we do 4 damage? Draw 2 cards. And then do something like that.
In hopes of a better tomorrow.
And then can we play anything that won't just have us draw more cards? Not really. Okay, well. Attack.
Got to roam in style.
And attack. That game, Maglam Lord, has a new trailer for a character named Sadius, who looks like he or she is a imp assistant character. And it's a side-scrolling hack and slash game in general. Still not 100% sure if it's a he or she, but whatever. Let's see, we have the amazing Phantom of the Opera for Switch and PC launching March 25th. We may have already talked about this. Some of these things very possibly are old news. Let's see. Okay. Deal 3 damage, draw a card. Start with that. Can we do this and then that?
The uncharted desert awaits.
Well, I could do that, but that didn't play out the way I had hoped.
What do we have here?
Everything all right here?
Earth and assault.
And there. Amazing Phantom of the Opera is a mystery adventure game. Let's see, we do have a trailer, so we can kind of skip through this and see what it looks like.
I can move forward.
Well, this ain't ideal, is it?
Does seem to be a combination of several different gameplay mechanics. Something more than what I thought it would be. I kind of thought it was just going to be a hidden object style game. The Otome visual novel Scandal in the Spotlight is coming to the Switch on March 25th. Price $24.99. Here you have some anime boys and in a like J-pop band outfits. What can we do? Do this.
Embrace your vast potential.
And then what do we want to do? Just this.
I go with the wind.
And we'll just evolve this.
Come forth.
A second wind got to roam in style.
I guess I wasn't good enough.
Opportunities abound.
Let's see, the King of Fighters 15 has Yuri Sakazaki trailers and screenshots as
I've got this.
a
So bring it.
new character, I suppose, coming to the King of Fighters 15
My eyes.
when that game comes out. King of Fighters might be the modern fighting game to start with.
My friend.
Like, I still haven't really made any great decisions or put a lot of investigation as far as which fighting game is actually worth it and isn't just a rip-off full of microtransactions or not microtransactions, but expensive content. Well, there's one game that's not available in the region.
Never be content.
The game Origami 2 has been delayed to Q3 of 2021. Right now, very crooked. I've got my chair shifted and I'm facing at a funny angle and my head's tilted. Let's see. Deal 4 damage. Do this. Gotta do this.
Embrace your vast potential.
And then at the end of the turn, they'll do 3 damage to all enemies. And so, then all I really need to do is this. And then, in the turn.
Limitless potential.
FIFA 21 had an EA gate, which alleges a employee sold icon moments. So basically they sold some in-game content to make money. Seems like that's something that the employee probably did. It seems like that's something EA would not endorse. Here we have Gamma Sutra saying EA is investigating the claims that staff members have been selling rare FIFA 21 items. But at the end of the day, FIFA themselves, EA themselves has been selling those items to people, and that is the bigger issue, in my opinion, is that not that they were doing it in secret, that they were blatantly selling things like that. Right, is there reason to evolve this? No. Although I will say that that whole scandal really didn't go anywhere, so they kind of killed it.
I am blameless. My hands are clean.
see. Cover 1 evolution point to do 4 damage to an enemy follower.
All magic falls under my purview.
Guess we can do this.
This match is
I'm
mine.
gonna lose.
Magic. Bow to my will.
Is there any way to
Uncharted desert awaits.
save? Let's ride
Anyone
this.
ever told you what a snake you are? Anyone ever told you what a snake you are?
See if this guy had
Make your move.
storm and could do double the damage, or if he had poison and he could attack that, I could potentially keep playing, but no. So he's just gonna defeat
Good luck
me.
to you.
Thanks to you, I can move forward. Wait, how did I lose?
Let's see. TechCraft has an article here. Dauntless update 1.5.5 adds private hunting grounds. Whatever that means. Think we're gonna call it a day too. Let's see. Gamma Sutra has a blog here dissecting Discord, how to set up an indie game Discord. At this point, I don't know if indie games need a Discord or if that's just not really a hassle, not worth taking on. I already mentioned Metro Exodus, Metro 2033 is free, not the Redux version this weekend. Let's go ahead and open that. So as far as missions, we still would need 1 more victory for that one and 2 more victories for that one, and maybe I can get that off the screen. There was a International Women's Day presentation for the mothers and daughters and the women of Mist, which is an interesting thought because I don't know how many females actually worked at Cyan when the Mist games were being made, since it was a fairly small company anyways. They did have some female lead characters, but they're all kind of backed into the later Mist games. Mist 1 is literally the 2 brothers and the father, and mentions of the mother. Mist 2 is about rescuing the damsel in distress of the mother. So Riven is about that, but you don't really interact, and she's not that empowered. And there is other characters that are all male pretty much. I don't think there's another female in Riven, and maybe one. Then when you get to like Mist 3 Exile, you're following a guy, and the guy is trying to save his wife and family that are just mentioned off screen, or he's mourning the deaths of his wife and family. So it's not until you get to Uru that you have the daughter, who is just kind of shown as a baby. Does the daughter start to really play a role? In Mist 4, the daughter is shown more as a character. In Mist 5, she's kind of the main character. So, yeah. By the time you get to the worst of the worst Mist games, that's when you have real female characters, as far as people actually, female women working on the game. Yeah, it's a heavy narrative game, so I would suspect that there probably were some female influences to tell a heavy narrative game compared to just most games being action based and that being more typically attributed to males. But yeah, that would have been an interesting presentation to watch if I could have watched it. I guess I can't at this point. Anyways, moving on, we have an educational typing game called Typing Quest for the Switch, launching April 22nd in Japan. I wouldn't be surprised if localizing a game like this to the West is just not worth it. Also, apparently you have to plug in a keyboard. I don't know if plugging in any kind of USB-C keyboard or USB keyboard to the Switch works. Probably does. I imagine most would. At the core, I'm sure Linux is running all of the software. And all the hardware detection. See, the ESA has an article here. Toy Z Electronics is changing the game for kids in underserved communities. If you want to read this kind of advertisement, that's pretty much all it is. Gamma Sutra has an article. The Sumo Group launches a secret mode to publish in-house and indie projects. See, that would have been March 11th, so we are close to the end here. TechRaptor has an article here. Assimilation acquires the publisher of Azul and Plan B Games. Or acquired Plan B Games, the publisher of Azul. This was probably the biggest news, and it's at the end here. Microsoft is going to continue to invest in multi-platform Bethesda Softworks games, but their goal is to have exclusive games on the Xbox Games Pass eventually. But they're not going to abandon Skyrim fans who've been playing Skyrim 3 with mods and make that an Xbox exclusive. But any new IP might very well be exclusive, or there might just be delays or just no desire to port some of the lesser games. If you were going to make a Dishonored 3, for instance, there might very well be a argument there that they don't bother to port that, or they take their sweet time to port that. TechRaptor has an article here for 5 Genosha crewmates to befriend and 5 to beware. This is probably a spoiler for the game. There's some very different looking characters. And see, this is very much like Danganronpa, in which you have these kind of visual novel games and the characters look very different. Same with 999. But this art style is kind of a softer art style in general. It's might take some getting used to. Right. I have a TechRaptor article here. Pascal's Wager Definitive Edition review. Let's see what they gave it. 7.5. Pascal's Wager has a truly terrible story, but its exploration, combat, and enemy is set apart. Pros: excellent enemy design, compelling, rewarding exploration, versatile combat. Cons: combat feels stiff, awful story, and laughable voice acting. Okay, that makes some sense. Here is that game, Loop Hero. Yeah, the graphics really don't look anywhere as good as people are talking about it, but that's where the follow list comes into play. You have this game that came out March 4th out of early access, I assume. It's got 95% of 9,545 user reviews are positive. It's already on my wish list for that reason. So, might be tricked on that one, I suppose. Think we already talked about this. EA to publish a debut project from the UK studio Silver Rain Games. Otherwise, I talked about it again. Here we have a TechRaptor article. Tencent apologizes for sales of pirated games on its app. Let's see. Its game acceleration app, which allows users to create storefronts and sell software within it, was found to be harboring pirates selling games through shared Steam accounts. Yeah, this is the problem of trusting Tencent, or frankly trusting almost any Chinese company, is that they just don't have a good record of playing fair, to say the least. Gematsu has an article. Vaporeon Lockdown for Switch launches March 22nd. What is Vaporeon Lockdown? Is this a dungeon crawler game? Kind of seems like it is. A 3D dungeon crawler. I think I've seen this before. I'm calling it an RPG. Alright, well, looks slightly interesting. The Outer Worlds DLC Murder on Erdanos launches March 17th for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC. It's the second and final story expansion. I feel like The Outer Worlds is probably a better game than I've given it credit for. Yeah, I do have just a ridiculous amount of duplicate tabs. So there is something about my anti-duplicate tab plugin not catching them because I have the tabs suspending too early. Gamma Sutra has an article. THQ Nordic has formed a Barcelona studio called Alchemia to create a remake for the game Gothic, which I feel like I need to figure out what the game Gothic is, because that does feel like something I vaguely recall. The game Dark Complete Edition launches March 18th for the Switch and March 25th for the PS5 and Xbox Series. This is from Gematsu. TechRaptor has a review for the game Blind Drive, which I think is literally a game you play just blind. They give it a 7.5. Yeah. I don't know if I really would want to play something that's for accessibility for blind people to play. I've played a few blind games, but only for a few minutes, and then they got fairly boring. They have the review for Cyanide and Happiness for Apocalypse. And what did they say? 7.52. It stays true to zany antics and dark humor of the franchise and packages it as a point-and-click adventure that makes absolutely no sense, but that's actually okay. It may not appeal to players who have no clue about the franchise, but it's bound to be an absolute delight for fans or anyone who appreciates a twisted joke every now and then. Pros: stays true to the franchise, satisfying point-and-click puzzles, fun, vibrant art with nods to Cyanide and Happiness fan faves. Cons: some things can be a bit disturbing. Not the most intellectual game out there. At a certain point, I think I would probably be better off bothering to cover like the South Park games instead, because at least that would be more relevant and more recognizable. Now I'm just going through a whole bunch of tabs of games again. I think I'll have to curate some of this before Monday, but I may not. I may not just bother to do it. I frankly would prefer to play more pinball or play Shadowverse. I've got a lot of catch up to do since I've had 3 days of no internet. And that's not even talking about scheduling videos, which that desperately needs to happen too. Yeah. Again, I feel like I need to apologize if somebody did try to type in the chat. I didn't see it. Like, I'm looking at the chat, but that very possibly was bugged. How am I going in circles here? This doesn't make sense. How could I have gone in circles with the control tab and not have run into any of the pin tabs at the beginning? I don't think I did. I think I literally am just have 2 of almost everything. Let's see. We have Epic Games has acquired the photogrammetry software developer Capturing Reality. So we might see some weird photogrammetry, whatever that is, in future Epic games. Here, Gamma Sutra has an article. The Hello Neighbor publisher Tiny Build has gone public with a 474 million valuation. Here we have Omedia Studios, and that's 2.2 million to create a new MOBA using Epic's Paragon assets. From what I understand, Omedia Studios is run by a YouTuber or esports guy, and he's getting a whole bunch of Kickstarter type money, and you can see the duplicate tab preventing notification is just shooting off like crazy. So it finally kicked in and decided to recognize that there were duplicate tabs. See, Gamma Sutra has an opinion piece here. When choice becomes a metric, narrative design suffers. Talking specifically about Telltale games. Yeah, that's an opinion. It's an opinion I could certainly agree to. Also, in most scenarios, it's kind of hard to speak in absolutes. But apparently, Shovel Knight programmer David D'Angelo is going to be at an Ask Me Anything live stream for GDC Showcase on the 18th. I don't know if he's going to have too much to say, though, or what you would really want to ask him. They have a blog here, 15 lessons I learned from BioShock Infinite, which, if that interests you, check it out. A lot of these. I think we probably talked about this, but the 6 Days in Fallujah publisher has pivoted and now says the game is inseparable from politics. I think that's fairly obvious. TechRaptor has a review for the game Breathage, which looks like a space game. They gave it a 4.5, so that's a pretty low thing. Check out the review yourself if you're interested. I'm not even going to bother to read the recap. I'm so desperately just trying to finish this. There's so many duplicate tabs that should have been caught and weren't. Here we have a game AI Kiss 2 for the PS4 and Switch. Demo is now available in Japan. A romance visual novel due out March 25th from Gamatsu. That's the kind of game that might not come to the West. TechRaptor has an article here. A Build-A-Bear has announced an Animal Crossing crossover, which sounds crazy. I wouldn't think Nintendo would even bother to do business with Build-A-Bear, but whatever. TechRaptor has an article. The Icy North City builder Frozenheim is coming to Steam this May. Okay. It's kind of an announcement. This was a surprise announcement. A Teenage Ninja Mutant Ninja Turtles, I said ninja that twice there. Shredder's Revenge surprise was announced, or Shredder's Revenge was surprise announced, which, okay. It's been a long time since we've seen a beat 'em up Ninja Turtles game. I assume that's what this is, and these Ninja Turtles are animated to look like the cartoon Ninja Turtles of old, where their appearance had changed a decent amount in the most recent cartoon. Also, April O'Neil apparently was supposed to be a woman of color originally, and they whitewashed her in the movies, and then the cartoon in the 80s followed suit. So the new cartoon seemed to fix that, and that caused a bit of controversy because it wasn't what people expected. This looks exactly like an arcade game, an old Ninja Turtles arcade game, with a slight difference here that I imagine there can be more people on screen and you won't drop any frame rates, where the old arcade game could if there was more people on there, and I bet there's more moves and less loss of energy in life. But yeah, that's a real exciting idea. It's coming to PC and consoles, according to TechRaptor. It's still very possible that that's a game that would only be like an hour long, though. Most of the arcade games were only that long. Gamatsu has Super Impossible Road coming to the PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC in 2021. It was first released on Apple Arcade in September of 2019. Not sure if there's enough of a game here to interest me, though. Let's see. A game called Record of the Lotus War Deedlit in Wonder Labyrinth launches March 27th for PC, which it seems like it's probably a side-scrolling game of some sort, looking at this gallery. Like a jumping platforming game from the looks of it. I didn't think the Record of the Lotus games were like this, though, so this feels like a spin-off experience. If anything, I feel like the Record of the Lotus War series is better known for an anime series than anything. TechRaptor has an article. Tommy has partnered with Sega for Sonic plushes, so they're going to make Sonic plushes. They apparently already make other kinds of plushes. Not sure if any of those are going to make it to the West, though. We missed Mario Day, which would have been the like March 10th, because the internet was out. But Reggie Fils-Aimé tweeted out a picture of him with some of the people who worked on Mario. which is kind of funny because Reggie Fils-Aimé at this point doesn't work for Nintendo of America. He's and last I heard, I thought he was working for like a charity, on the board of a charity, and that was it. But also, I think it also is fair that Reggie here didn't actually code or program any of Mario, where Shigeru Miyamoto here definitely did code and program some of the Mario games, and I imagine these are his team who've programmed a lot of the Mario games. At a certain point, there must have been a handoff though, so I don't know if Shigeru Miyamoto directly programmed anything from like Mario Galaxy or Mario 64 or anything like that. Let's see. Do we have anything else that we need to talk about? Specifically just to get all the news done. We'll just have a ton of games still to talk about. As far as on Monday, there was this announcement that came and went. Denuvo is going to join exclusive PlayStation 5 tools and middleware program to offer anti-cheat technology to game developers. So we might start seeing Denuvo showing up on consoles, which I don't know why you would do that, because there is pretty much an assumption that the consoles are fairly locked down anyways. So do you really need Denuvo, or are you just putting a hat on a hat? The game Paradise launches March 24th for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC. We have a trailer of seeing what it looks like. You just doing everything on the screen? Or is this just a teaser trailer? It's just a teaser trailer. See what the gameplay footage looks like. Yeah, it seems like you're walking around, kind of a horror element, collecting pages. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure what kind of game it really is. It looks like it's just a horror walking around. And it doesn't seem to me like that's based on the novel Paradise Lost. If there is a novel called Paradise Lost, I feel like there is something with paradise in the name that that could be turned into a video game, but it hasn't. There's probably a lot of novels like that. Gamatsu has the co-op adventure game We Were Here Forever announced for PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. I believe this is the co-op game, though, where you have to work together. Or a sequel to a co-op game where you have to work together. So I don't know if I would be able to play it separately, unless I'm thinking of a different game, which I might be. This definitely looks weird. Yeah, the puzzles you encounter take 2 to solve. You both have a role to play. Communicate via walkie-talkies and act as each other's eyes and ears. And that's an interesting idea, but it's a kind of gameplay that really only works for a small number of people and YouTubers. Gamatsu has a Kiba's Trip, Hellbound, and Debriefed. Some character trailers. So you can see more characters in this HD remake of the original Akiba's Trip game. It's still kind of weird to potentially think about playing the remake of the first game and then potentially playing the second game and then potentially playing the third game, which is completely different, and imagine not something that people would probably like. I don't think many people liked it. A ex-Twitch employee raised $3.5 million for a new beauty-focused streaming startup called Newness, which, okay, but how is that really different from Twitch, other than it's just focusing on beauty videos? Game Switcher has this article. Olive X has acquired the fitness game developer Six to Start for 9.5. This was the developer that made the game Zombies Run, which was kind of like an audio thing you listen to while you were running, I believe. Alright, well, then I finally control tabbed all the way around, which means I can load here and I can see if there's a new Humble Bundle, which I kind of doubt there is. No, there is a Stellaris Discovery Bundle, which would give you $1 to play Stellaris, and then a whole bunch of DLC for Stellaris, and then a whole bunch more DLC for Stellaris. Well, at least that bundle is one note. Of course, you probably would have to commit quite a bit. ScumVM has been accepted for Google Summer of Code 2021, which they do that every year as kind of like a game jam type thing. I'm just going to scroll down my Twitter feed and see if there's any new news we're talking about. By the looks of it, the answer is no. Yeah, it kind of looks like there hasn't been anything in the last 4 hours as far as new news. Which, I don't know, maybe that means something is still glitched. Let me just double check. Yeah, there definitely is something glitched, because I'm seeing posts that are like 4 hours ago, then 7 hours ago, then 4 hours again. So you should just scroll down a little bit here and see if there's anything new to say. I doubt there is, though. Like, on a Saturday, not a lot to happen. Today is Pi Day. Unfortunately, not any really great pizza offerings as far as I saw, and I'm not going to go out to a store to get a bakery pie. So I don't think I'm going to get any kind of good deals from that. Adafruit is selling Raspberry Pis, the computer boards, and everything in stock for 10% off. So if you want to make pie maker stuff, you can do that today. Okay, well, I don't think there's anything else I check. No, it's just a Humble Bundle and the Twitter feed. Yeah, it's been a while since I last streamed. That's going to be it for this stream. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.